There is a waiting that eats you from the inside, a door that should have opened but remained closed, a moment you were certain would arrive but never came. You feel the weight of missed timing, the ache of opportunity slipping through your fingers like water. The world moved forward while you stood still, watching others receive what you prayed for, achieve what you worked toward, step into spaces that seemed meant for you. But what if that sensation of being left behind is actually the universe holding you back from something you were not yet ready to carry? This is not about positive thinking or empty consolation. This is about understanding the hidden intelligence that operates beneath your conscious awareness, the protective hand of your psyche that knows what your ego cannot yet see. When something you deeply desired simply did not happen at the expected moment, your first instinct was to believe you were being punished, overlooked, or forgotten. The rejection felt personal, deliberate, as if life itself had decided you were unworthy. But Jung would ask you to consider another possibility. What if the delay itself was the message? What if the very frustration you feel is the beginning of a deeper initiation into your own becoming? The promise here is not comfort but clarity. By the end of this exploration, you will understand why certain doors close with a force that feels personal, why some paths dissolve just as you step toward them, and why the timing you demand is often at odds with the timing your soul requires. This is about learning to read the language of delays, to see them not as rejection but as a form of protection you did not know you needed. You will discover that what felt like cosmic cruelty was actually cosmic precision, that the hand pulling you back was not an enemy, but a guardian. Jung spoke of synchronicity, those moments when events align not through cause and effect, but through meaning. A chance encounter that changes everything, a book that falls open to the exact passage you needed, a conversation that arrives at the precise moment you are ready to hear it. But synchronicity also works in reverse, and this is what we often fail to recognize. There are moments when things do not happen, when the expected simply refuses to materialize, and this too carries profound significance. The absence of an event can be as meaningful as its presence, sometimes more so. When a relationship ends before it begins, when a job offer vanishes at the last moment, when a plan collapses despite all your effort, the psyche is often intervening. It is pulling you back from a threshold you were about to cross unprepared, protecting you from a future version of events that would have harmed you in ways you could not yet perceive. Your conscious mind, fixed on the destination, cannot see the dangers along that particular path. But your unconscious, with its broader view, its access to patterns and possibilities beyond rational calculation, can sense what awaits you there. And sometimes, it simply closes the door. We live in two kinds of time, and understanding this distinction is crucial. There is chronological time, the ticking of the clock, the calendar dates we circle in red, the deadlines we impose on life. This is the time your ego worships and fears in equal measure. It is linear, measurable, finite. You feel it running out, slipping away, mocking you with its relentless forward motion. And then there is psychological time, the rhythm of inner maturation, the slow unfolding of readiness that cannot be rushed or controlled. This is the time your self honors, the time in which true transformation occurs. Your ego operates in chronological time, anxious and urgent, measuring worth by speed and productivity. It believes that if something has not happened yet, it never will. It interprets delay as denial, waiting as wasting. But your self, that deeper center of your being, moves in psychological time. It honors the seasons of your inner growth, the necessary dormancy before new blooming, the underground work that must happen before anything breaks the surface. The delay you interpret as failure may simply be yourself refusing to let you enter a situation before your psyche has the structure to sustain it. Think of it this way. You wanted something desperately, a relationship perhaps, or a career opportunity, or a long-awaited recognition. You were ready, or so you believed. You had done the work, made the plans, positioned yourself perfectly. But readiness is not just conscious willingness or external preparation. Readiness is an alignment of conscious intent with unconscious capacity, a harmony between what you think you want and what you are genuinely prepared to hold. And often, the unconscious knows you are not ready long before the conscious mind admits it. The door that does not open is the self protecting you from carrying a weight your inner architecture cannot yet support. You wanted the relationship, but parts of you were still enmeshed in old wounds, still repeating patterns you had not yet recognized. You wanted the career advancement, but your sense of self was still too fragile, too dependent on external validation to withstand the pressures that would have come with it. You wanted the recognition, but you had not yet developed the internal stability to receive it without losing yourself in it. The delay gave those unconscious parts time to integrate, time to become strong enough to hold what you desire without collapsing under its demands. This is not metaphorical. This is the actual work of the psyche, the slow process by which fragmented aspects of yourself come into relationship with each other, learn to cooperate, build the internal structure necessary for sustainable growth. You cannot rush this process any more than you can rush the healing of a broken bone. It takes the time it takes, and forcing it only creates more fractures. This is not about blame or judgment. It is about recognizing that the psyche has its own intelligence, its own protective mechanisms that operate beyond your conscious control. When you are a child and you reach for something dangerous, a parent pulls your hand away. You do not understand in that moment why you are being denied what you want. You only feel the frustration, the sense of injustice. But the parent sees what you cannot, acts from a knowledge you do not yet possess. The psyche does the same. It pulls you back from situations that would harm you, even when you cannot see the danger yourself. The frustration you feel is real, and it deserves acknowledgement. You are allowed to grieve what did not happen, to feel the weight of disappointment, to rage against the seeming unfairness of it all. But the frustration is not evidence of cosmic cruelty or personal unworthiness. It is evidence that something within you is wiser than your immediate desire, that there is a protective intelligence at work even in what feels like abandonment. There is a wound many of us carry, inherited from generations who lived in scarcity, who could not afford to wait, who learned that hesitation meant loss. This ancestral urgency lives in your body as a constant hum of anxiety, a background noise you may not even notice until you try to be still. If not now, when? If not this, what? The questions loop endlessly, driving you forward, even when stillness is what you actually need. Your ancestors did not have the luxury of trusting time. For them, delay meant danger. It meant hunger, poverty, being left behind by a world that moved too fast and cared too little. They could not afford to pause, to wait, to trust that what was meant for them would arrive when they were ready. And so they passed down a nervous system that interprets waiting as a threat to survival, that experiences the absence of immediate results as a kind of death. But you are not living in that same scarcity, even when it feels like you are. The delay is not evidence that you will lose everything if you do not act now. It is an invitation to unlearn the panic that equates stillness with failure, to recognize that your worth is not determined by how quickly you achieve or acquire. When you can sit with the weight without spiraling into fear, you begin to break the ancestral pattern. You begin to teach your nervous system that time is not an enemy, that the unfolding has its own intelligence, that you do not have to control every moment to be safe. This is intergenerational healing in its most intimate form. You are not just changing your own relationship with time. You are transforming a legacy, offering a different possibility to those who come after you. The choice to trust the delay, to honor the rhythm of your own becoming, rather than the frantic pace of inherited anxiety, is an act of profound liberation. Your ego believes it must make everything happen through sheer force of will. It believes that if you are not pushing, striving, driving yourself forward relentlessly, nothing will arrive. This is the ego's fundamental illusion, the belief that you are the sole creator of your life, that everything depends on your effort and control. But Jung taught that the ego is not the center of the psyche. The self is. And the self orchestrates events with a precision that the ego, with all its frantic effort, cannot begin to match. When you exhaust yourself trying to force outcomes, you are often working against the deeper current of your own becoming. You are like someone trying to swim upstream, expending enormous energy to move against the flow, when what is actually needed is the courage to turn around and let the current carry you where you need to go. The delay is that current asserting itself, reminding you that you are not in this alone, that there is a larger intelligence at work. There is a necessary collapse that happens when the ego finally admits it cannot control time or outcomes. This collapse feels like failure, like the end of hope, like evidence that you were foolish to trust or try at all. But it is actually the beginning of something far more profound. It is the beginning of surrender, and surrender is not giving up. Surrender is the recognition that there is a larger intelligence at work, one that you can trust even when you cannot see the full picture, even when the path ahead is obscure. The delay forces this surrender. It brings you to the edge of your own limits and asks you to let go of the belief that you must orchestrate everything. And in that letting go, you create space for what is genuinely yours to arrive, not through force but through alignment. You stop pushing doors that will not open and begin to notice the doors that are already opening on their own. The invitations that were always there but that you were too busy forcing to see. Look back now at the moments when something almost happened but did not. The relationship that seemed perfect until it suddenly ended for no clear reason. The opportunity that was practically guaranteed until it evaporated at the last second. The plan that you had invested everything in, only to watch it collapse without explanation. In the moment, these felt like catastrophic losses, evidence that you were unlucky or unworthy or cursed. But with the clarity that only distance provides, can you see what you were actually spared? Can you recognize the toxic patterns you did not have to endure? The compromises you did not have to make, the versions of yourself you did not have to become in order to hold on to something that was never truly aligned with your deeper truth. The person you would have had to become to make that relationship work, was that really who you wanted to be? The life you would have had to live to sustain that career, would it have actually fulfilled you? The concept of almost is a powerful one. It carries the ghost of what could have been, haunting you with visions of an alternate life that seems more appealing than the one you are living. But it also carries a message if you are willing to receive it. When something almost happens but does not, the psyche is often intervening at the last possible moment, pulling you back from a threshold that would have led you away from your true path rather than toward it. The unconscious sees what the conscious mind, blinded by desire and fear, cannot. It sees the hidden costs of what you think you want, the unsustainable dynamics that would eventually break you, the ways in which that desired outcome would have fractured you rather than fulfilled you. And so it steps in, sometimes gently, sometimes brutally, to redirect you toward something more aligned with your authentic becoming. While you waited, something else was happening beneath the surface. You were not frozen in time, even though it felt that way. You were not stagnant or stuck, even though every day seemed to bring nothing new. You were developing capacities you did not know you needed, building muscles you did not realize were atrophied, learning lessons that could only be learned in the absence of what you desired. Resilience, for one. The ability to hold yourself steady when nothing is going according to plan, when all your efforts seem to lead nowhere, when everyone around you appears to be succeeding while you remain invisible. This is not a skill you acquire through easy victories. It is forged in the fire of frustration, in the long nights of wondering if anything will ever change, in the mornings when you have to find a reason to keep going despite the evidence that nothing you do makes any difference. Discernment, for another. The delay forced you to clarify what you actually want versus what you think you should want, what truly matters to you versus what would simply satisfy your ego or silence external judgment. When you cannot have everything immediately, you learn to distinguish between genuine desire and borrowed ambition, between what feeds your soul and what merely decorates your life. And perhaps most importantly, you develop the ability to hold yourself steady in the absence of external validation. You learn that your worth is not determined by what you have achieved or acquired, that you can be valuable even when you have nothing to show for it, that your existence has meaning even in the spaces between accomplishments. These are not small lessons. They are the foundation of a life lived from the inside out, rather than from the outside in. The delay was not wasting your time. It was building the foundation that would allow you to sustain what you desire when it finally arrives. Because here is what most people do not understand. Getting what you want before you are ready to hold it is not a blessing. It is a burden. It is a weight that will crush the fragile structure of your unintegrated psyche, leaving you broken in the midst of apparent success. There is a death that happens in waiting, a necessary dying that most people resist with everything they have. The person you were when you first wanted that thing, that version of you with all its unexamined assumptions and unhealed wounds, that version dies. And this death is essential. You cannot carry new experiences with old structures. You cannot step into a larger life while clinging to a smaller identity. The delay kills off the parts of you that were not ready, that were seeking external validation to fill internal voids, that were operating from wounds rather than wholeness. And from that death, a more integrated version of you emerges. This is the psychological function of waiting. It is not passive. It is not wasted time. It is actively, relentlessly transformative. The delay is doing something to you, in you, through you. It is restructuring your inner world, forcing integration, demanding maturity, requiring that you become someone capable of carrying what you desire, without losing yourself in the process. Here is what frustration teaches that easy success never could. It teaches you what you are made of when nothing is going your way, when all your strategies fail, when the world refuses to cooperate with your plans. It teaches you how to find meaning in the absence of external rewards, how to value your own journey even when no one else seems to notice or care. It teaches you to separate your worth from your achievements, to recognize that you are valuable, not because of what you have accomplished, but because of who you are becoming in the crucible of difficulty. These lessons do not arrive through triumph. They arrive through the slow, painful process of being denied what you thought you needed and discovering that you can survive without it, that you can even thrive in its absence. They arrive through the moment when you realize that the thing you were chasing so desperately was actually running you, controlling you, defining you in ways that diminished your fullness rather than expressing it. When what you have been waiting for finally arrives, and it will arrive when the timing is right, you may notice something strange. The excitement is not what you imagined. There is a quiet satisfaction, a sense of rightness, a feeling of pieces falling into place, but not the explosive joy you expected. Not the sense of finally being complete, not the belief that now your life can truly begin. And this muted response is how you know the delay did its work. You are no longer the desperate person who needed that thing to feel whole, who believed that external achievement or acquisition would finally make you enough. You have become someone who can receive it without clinging, someone who can hold it without losing yourself, someone who understands that this thing you desired is simply one piece of a much larger puzzle, not the solution to all your problems or the validation of your existence. The delay changed you, and that change was always the whole point. The thing itself was never as important as who you needed to become in order to hold it with grace. This is why forcing outcomes before their time is so dangerous. You get what you wanted, but you are not yet who you need to be to sustain it. And so what should have been a blessing becomes a burden. What should have been a celebration becomes a source of new suffering. Learning to trust that there is a timing wiser than your own conscious will is one of the greatest acts of spiritual maturity. It is the moment when you stop fighting against the current of your life and begin to flow with it. When you stop demanding that life conform to your schedule and start recognizing that your schedule was always too small, too limited, too focused on immediate gratification and short-term results. Psychological time operates on a different scale. It honors the slow work of integration, the necessary pauses between growth spurts, the seasons of dormancy that must precede new blooming. It understands that transformation is not linear, that healing moves in spirals, that becoming who you are meant to be requires cycles of expansion and contraction, movement and stillness, doing and being. This trust is not passive resignation or spiritual bypassing. It is not about pretending you do not care or convincing yourself that you never really wanted what you wanted. It is active faith in the intelligence of your own becoming, a conscious choice to believe that you are not abandoned in the waiting, but held, shaped, prepared for something that requires this particular preparation. The universe, or the self, whichever language resonates more deeply with you, is not punishing you with delay. It is not testing you to see if you deserve what you want or trying to teach you some arbitrary lesson about patience. It is protecting you, maturing you, ensuring that when the door finally opens, you can walk through it without losing yourself on the other side, without fragmenting under the weight of what you receive. There is a kind of detachment that emerges from this understanding, a freedom that comes when you stop running after outcomes with the desperation of someone who believes this is their only chance. You begin to trust that what is truly meant for you will find you when you are ready to sustain it without collapsing. This does not mean you stop desiring, stop setting intentions, stop moving toward your goals with clarity and commitment. It means you hold those desires more lightly, with less clinging, with less fear that missing this moment means missing everything. You learn to distinguish between attachment and intention, between desperate grasping and clear direction. You can want something deeply, while also trusting that if it does not arrive, something better aligned with your true path will. You can work toward a goal with full commitment, while also remaining open to the possibility that the journey itself is teaching you something more valuable than the destination could ever provide. The waiting taught you something essential. It taught you to inhabit your own company without panic, to be alone without interpreting that aloneness as evidence of your unworthiness. It forced you to turn inward, to find resources within yourself that you did not know existed, to discover that you are more resilient, more creative, more capable than you believed. And this capacity to be still without despair, to be alone without collapsing into self-abandonment, is the foundation of any solid external creation. You cannot build a meaningful life on the shaky ground of desperation. You cannot create sustainable success from a place of inner fragmentation. You can only build something that lasts when you are standing on solid ground, when your sense of self is not dependent on external validation, when you know who you are even in the absence of achievement or recognition. Self-possession is not something you are born with. It is forged in the crucible of delay, in the long seasons when nothing happens, and you must find your value in simply being rather than doing. Jung would invite you to see every period of waiting as a ritual of preparation, not as an exile or punishment. The delay is not evidence that you are forgotten by life or deemed unworthy by some cosmic judge. It is evidence that you are being prepared, that something within you is being refined, that the timing you demanded was out of sync with the timing your soul required for genuine, sustainable transformation. Psychological time does not punish, it matures. It ensures that when you finally receive what you have been waiting for, you are capable of carrying it with grace, of integrating it into your life without losing your center, of allowing it to enhance your existence rather than define it. The door that remains closed is not a rejection. It is a boundary set by your own deeper wisdom, a protection offered by the part of you that sees further than your conscious mind can perceive. So if you are in a season of delay right now, if the thing you want has not yet arrived despite all your effort and faith, consider this possibility. You are not being denied. You are being protected. You are not being overlooked. You are being prepared. The waiting is not wasted time but sacred time, time in which you are becoming the person who can hold what you desire without breaking under its weight, without losing yourself in the having of it. The door that remains closed is not a statement about your worth or your potential. It is a message from your own deeper self, telling you that this is not yet your time, that there is more internal work to be done, more integration to achieve, more of yourself to gather and unite before you can step into what awaits. And when that door finally opens, when the timing aligns between your desire and your readiness, you will walk through it as someone transformed, someone who can receive without grasping, who can hold without clinging, who can celebrate without losing themselves in the celebration. If this understanding resonates with you, if you feel the truth of delay as protection rather than punishment, subscribe to this journey of psychological and spiritual exploration. Share in the comments what you are learning to trust in your own season of waiting. What insights are emerging from your frustration? What you are discovering about yourself in the absence of what you thought you needed. This conversation does not end here. There is more to explore about the hidden intelligence of your psyche, the archetypal patterns that shape your becoming, the ways in which your life is unfolding with a precision you are only beginning to recognize. Let us continue this exploration together, honoring the wisdom that lives in every delay, every pause, every moment when the expected refuses to arrive and invites you instead to become someone new.